the Mark Sanchez thing that just happened.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I've read a couple news stories about it. We don't have a whole lot of details yet.
Yeah. The former NFL quarterback, if people have been living under a rock, former NFL quarterback and current like NFL color commentator got in a really bizarre fight with a gentleman I think was 69 years old or something like that. So the person that was involved in this altercation with Sanchez tried to use less lethal options. He tried to use pepper spray. Again, I wasn't there. I haven't seen video of this. I don't know that anybody has outside of the people investigating the situation, but I just want to use this as a situation to talk about the effectiveness or potential downfalls of over-relying on a less lethal option. So pepper spray didn't work. Ultimately, I believe he drew out a knife, and I think both people ended up being cut with a knife, which goes back to your point about, if there's a knife involved, there's a high probability you're going to get cut. But I don't know if you've heard anything any more about that incident than I have. I don't expect you to provide analysis because this just happened and there's not information out there to really analyze this fully. So I'm not asking for that, but I just want to ask about your opinion of less lethal tools. Do you think they're a good thing, or do you think people become over-reliant on them, or maybe both?
Well, I do think they're a good thing. I think that they are generally highly advisable for the vast majority of people. In court, I have seen plenty of people charged for an overuse of force, for the use of a firearm when it wasn't warranted. It's very seldom that you get charged for the use of pepper spray when it wasn't warranted. And even if you do, that's like a misdemeanor assault. Like you can get away with that and still live your life, right? Like, you go back to the real world with a misdemeanor assault conviction. Not with an ag assault conviction. If, you point a gun or shoot a gun at somebody. No, you're going to go to prison for a while on that. So I love less lethal tools. I think that, I've got 19 years of martial arts training. I'm pretty good with my hands. I'm not at all saying that I can't get my butt whooped. But I'm saying I'm going to make you pay retail for it at least. And I still carry less lethal every day because I don't want to get in a fight with you if I can possibly help it. I am not a fan for the average private citizen of a conductive electrical weapon or, what most people would consider a taser. Certainly not a stun gun. I mean, the stun guns, which are the knockoff brands.
That's like an 80s fad. Yeah.
Those are terrible. Like just hard no. The challenge with a taser, we jokingly, going back to the movie Anchorman, we jokingly call taser the Sex Panther of defensive tools. 60% of the time it works every time. And in a law enforcement context, they only will bring a taser out under policy almost everywhere I've ever seen if they have lethal cover available. And so if you don't have lethal cover, and as a private citizen, you ain't got no lethal cover, you're all on your own. The taser is a use case that it's all or nothing. It's 100% or 0%. And so, we see it fail too often for that to be an issue. With OC spray, there's a couple of things. I'm a big fan of OC, of pepper spray. But however, big caveat, there's a lot of crappy OC spray on the market that is, sold at the entrance aisle
store. At the hardware store. Yeah.
Yeah, at the hardware store. And that stuff is hot garbage. And plenty of stuff you can buy on Amazon. Also hot garbage with unreliable formula. Also, you need to recognize, OC spray, about 10% of the population or so is low effect. You're a cop. You see all the guys go through the academy and take a dose of pepper spray so that they know what it's like. And if you've got an academy class of 60 guys, and gals, probably 5 or 6 of them are going to go, well, that kind of sucks. And then carry on with whatever it was they were doing. Whereas, the rest of them are going to go, and the snot rockets and unable to open their eyes.
And one of the reasons, John, I think that people, why that is so effective in the academy setting, when you just saw all your academy mates and they're getting hit with pepper spray and like you just said, the tendency, and then you feel it and it maybe does the same thing to you. The tendency is to think that's going to work that way on everybody in the real world. But not only there are a certain percentage that's going to be ineffective based on their makeup, but there's people that will fight through that, even if it does affect them. If they're fully committed, pepper spray, oftentimes it is a good option, but you just have to have a plan B. And that applies for everything. So in other words, you may spray pepper spray, he may close distance, and now you got pepper spray on you. And you may have that can, maybe the can now becomes an impact weapon in order to create space to get to your firearm or get the heck out of there or whatever. So I think that it's kind of like what you alluded to earlier with the lucky rabbit's foot firearm analogy. Like pepper spray is not a magic talisman. Like you pull that out and everything is okay.
Yep.
It's one in a layered approach to self-defense. It's a potentially effective tool, and the same could be said for, an ASP baton or any number of things.
And the thing with OC spray is, remember, the mission of a private citizen is to break contact with a threat, right? So a lot of times, it's cops who do training for private citizens, which is great. You just got to recontextualize. A cop's mission is to close contact with somebody who's a lawbreaker and take them into custody. So that's literally the opposite mission of a private citizen. Some guy's threatening me. Now, of course, a less lethal tool is only useful against ordinary force. So somebody says, I'm going to kick your butt. Now maybe an OC spray is a good idea. Somebody's got a knife in their hand. Unless you don't have any other options, that's the time for your firearm.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Now it's time to shoot somebody because they're a deadly threat. Whereas I'm going to kick your butt. I believe you. I'd really rather not have my butt kicked. Thank you. So I want to break contact. So to me, the OC spray is an opportunity to break contact. If I hit him with the hot sauce and it takes him a couple seconds and he goes, oh, yuck, man, whatever. I take those 2 seconds to get out of there, to break contact if at all possible with my loved ones. Even if he's low effect, some effect changes his demeanor for a minute for me to get out of there. And 90% of the time, it's gonna give him enough effect that I can break contact and I don't have to do so super quick, but always having a plan B. And of course, if he is low effect or is very committed, I've really made somebody mad in a road rage situation and they came out of the car, or I offended some guy at the Piggly Wiggly and he wants to kick my butt and I hit him with the hot sauce and no, he's still determined to kick my butt. Okay, now it's time for Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary, and here we go, which is why I say for private citizens too, some empty-handed skills are really important.
Yeah, even if most of our viewers and listeners, I think, are firearms folks. I think that's fair to say. But yeah, just having a firearm, even if you're super proficient with a firearm, that's just one tool. I mean, and it's probably not going to be the right tool going by the odds. In other words, a lot greater chance that you're going to be assaulted in such a way that a less lethal response is appropriate versus a lethal response. So that's very important. These days we have a lot of advantages when it comes to pistols. We have pistols that are they're very shootable, very small, so they're easy to conceal, and also we have things like red dot sights that make them easier to aim. I noticed that in the last several years, I was a very early adopter to red dots on pistols.
Me too.
Not as early as Kelly McCann, who was, if not I think he was probably the first commercially to be producing videos and stuff using a red dot. And back then, it stood up a lot higher off the slide and
big
stuff.
Old Seymour sight on top of a gun.
We've come a long way, but it's a much more intuitive way to aim. I'd like to get your thoughts, particular with regard to handguns and red dot sights, whether or not you think that's advantageous and why or why not.